So, yesterday's episode had us talking about the AFC teams and who we thought were players to watch out for in the preseason for each of those teams, as in guys who could flash or show off, look pretty good. Today we've got the NFC portion of that segment. So if you didn't check out yesterday's AFC teams, I think there was some pretty good discussions, and I think I had a decent joke about the Jacksonville Jaguars in there, so that was really entertaining if you didn't check that out. So go check that out before you watch this, or I guess after, it doesn't really matter what order. But today we got the NFC teams, as I said, and Jake, start us off. Who are you watching out for whatever NFC team you choose to start with today?
Yeah, let's start in the NFC East here. Philadelphia Eagles. Guy to watch, very high on. Everyone else was high on him heading into the draft. I wasn't. And I think that was like my first ever very controversial take on our podcast was I don't really like Devontae Smith that much. I don't see it. But he's the best receiver that's on the Eagles right now. He is probably the best player that is on the Eagles. So I'm excited to see him play. I want to be proven wrong. I always want players to prove me wrong when I say anything negative about him. And I've said probably equally the amount, not equally. I've said more negative stuff about Zach Wilson than I have Devontae Smith, but he's up there with guys that I've talked down upon. And I want to be proven wrong. I want to see what he's got. And be the number one receiver for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, a guy I have to talk about from the Eagles that I really have to say I thought looked pretty good prior to the draft last season was Jalen Reagor, and I'm just excited to see him this season because he made one catch in practice the other day that was just absolutely ridiculous. If he could start making those catches consistently, because he did it once in practice, so that's the type of hype that we have around here. Also, because the Eagles basically have no other receivers besides Devontae Smith, so you're going to hope that there's some guy that could step up to be the number 2 there. I hope it's Jalen Reagor. That being said, a nice clip coming out of training camp doesn't hurt your chances of having a good season. Doesn't necessarily help it too much either, but it doesn't hurt you. And I liked him coming out of college, so I don't see any reason that he couldn't start doing some more for this team than he did last year. And even also, I thought at the end of the season he did start coming on more than he did earlier in the season and was looking better for them. So him and Devontae Smith together should be a good receiver combo. I like your pick as well. Who you got next?
The Dallas Cowboys. And, we watched Dallas a little bit in the Hall of Fame game the other day. And a guy that I watched for them and still watching for him is Nashawn Wright. 6'4" corner, big, lanky. Had some decent hits in there too. Broke up some balls. Stuck with it. Chase Claypool for most of the game. Wasn't really much on my radar. I mean, I watched him when we evaluated their draft picks. And I watched him even pre-draft too. He was one of the corners I watched, but haven't really gone too much in depth with him. And I want to put a magnifying glass on him this preseason because he has a good chance to be the number 2 corner on that team.
Yeah, he was one of the big takeaways for me, too, coming away from that game. Just like, what did I learn? And it was just like, ooh, who's this guy? But the other thing that I didn't point out prior to the game last night, and we do have an advantage now with Pittsburgh and Dallas, having seen them for one preseason game. The guy that really looked good for the Dallas Cowboys offense for the number 2s for me was Cedric Wilson. We thought Sime Fehoko, he did get a number of targets last night, and I'd hope that he can get some more receptions this preseason. But the guy who really showed off in the latter receivers for the Cowboys was Cedric Wilson. So he looked good. So, I think he's just a guy you got to keep your eyes on once this team plays even more preseason games, just because he looked so good in the first one.
Yeah, for the New York Giants, I have, sticking with the pass rusher thing that I talked about in the episode yesterday, Azeez Ojulari. These pass rushers that are pure speed and nothing really technical, I want to see what they do because Chase Young is like that. Chase Young had a pretty decent rookie campaign. I mean, defensive rookie of the year, it's all right. Maybe you and I are completely wrong about these guys, and that's just the future. I know that's not our thing. I mean, probably until the end of time while we're doing this. Just whenever we see a guy like, oh yeah, your whole game is just being faster than the tackle, good. you're not going to be in my top 5. But that's going to have to change eventually, especially if Azeez Ojulari, Joseph Osai, Ofede Owe, all those guys really start balling out in the preseason and regular season.
Don't put a Dafe in there. He's not quite the same. He wasn't as much coming off the edge, just purely speed wise. But yeah, no, I think I agree with you. I mean, we keep coming back to this discussion, but it's basically like having the running back in the game who can't catch the ball ever. It's like, okay, we know what you're doing here. It's either he's blocking or he's running. He's not going out to try to catch a ball. And it's like, why are we doing that? Why can't we just build around a bunch of guys who are versatile defensive ends or edge rushers or whatever, and not just have them be so one-dimensional? I don't know. I don't like it either, but you're right. It feels like the NFL is moving towards, oh, okay, we'll have certain guys play on rundowns, and then this guy can just come in on pass rush downs and literally just run around the outside and try to get a sack. Although I have to say, you said this was Ojulari, correct, for the Giants?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
Azeez Ojulari was much more interesting than your Joseph Osai pick from yesterday. I thought Joseph Osai looked worse than Ojulari. He just got.
That's why he's going to be interesting to watch.
Will be interesting to watch. He got bullied in college, so I mean, if he's getting bullied in college, I can't wait to see him against some NFL talent. For the Giants, for me though, they've got a lot of new guys at the receiver position, and even if they're not new, they've just got a lot of depth there. A guy who's probably going to be running with the twos just because of how many solid receivers they have is another guy that we can talk about in terms of speed, but just speed, not like speed off the edge. John Ross, come on, he's coming in to this team. He's a guy that I got really hyped up coming out of the draft. He's finally on a new team that isn't the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know if he's going to do much, but geez, if there's a guy that I'm excited to watch step on the field, it's always John Ross. I mean, how can you not be excited with that kind of speed?
Yeah, especially those 2-3 game stretch he had last season where he just like balled out, and it was like, oh my, is John Ross finally coming out of the scene? And then nothing for the rest of the season after that. But yeah, if he can really get a fresh start with the Giants, that receiving core is going to be something to marvel at if he takes a step up too. So yeah, that's a great pick. For the football team now.
Can I cut you here for a sec?
Yeah,
How quickly, like, should, and this may seem dumb, but like, for guys looking for trades, like how much, because we have a decent number of quarterbacks right now that still may be looking for a new team here soon. How are they not looking at the Giants? Just looking at what the Giants have going on and just going, man, there's a lot of good things there. Is it the O-line? It must just be the O-line holding them back. Because,
yeah, probably.
Because it's literally like tight end, receiver, running back. Like the defense played so well together last season. I can't imagine they'd have any reason to look at it drop off. I mean, it could, but I mean, there's nothing really that's pointing to a direct reason for drop off. I just don't know. I feel like it's got to be the O-line because I feel like they're a quarterback and O-line OA.
Might be coaching. I don't think Aaron Rodgers wants to go if he's going to have to run sprints if some guy has a helmet-to-helmet tackle in practice. That might not be conducive to the age of 40. So,
to be fair, even though they're like men in this locker room that have to do that stuff, they're like, I don't want to run wind sprints or I don't want to do push-ups or whatever. Like he's punishing them for, which is fighting. How many more fights do you think are going to actually occur during training camp for him? And also, beyond that, like, do you really think that they're going to, like, completely lose respect for him because of one decision? Because I don't think that's something that
I don't know about
completely
lose respect, but, I mean, you can already see it now. Like, there have been 3 vets that were on that team that retired after that practice. They were just like, yeah.
3. I saw 1.
I'm 32 years old. I just can't do this anymore if this is going to be going on.
I saw one guy who seemed like he was already half out of the building before he started. Who are the other 2 guys?
Geez. Joe Looney, who's an offensive lineman that was up there, and then 2 linebackers that were in their 30s too.
Really? I didn't hear about those guys. All right, well,
yeah.
I mean, I guess if you don't want to make $1 million this year, you can leave. I'm sorry. And that's wild to me. There's no way I'm stepping away because I had to run sprints one practice. I don't know. Sorry.
I don't know, man.
Getting far off from the topic, but that's just weird to me. Continue.
Yeah. Let's move on to the football team here. For them, their defense is going to be the big thing to watch. I mean, bunch of young talent there. They're going to be fun to watch like it was last season. But the secondary is a little shaky. I mean, that pass rush linebacker's solid too, bringing in Jamin Davis, but that's not my guy to watch. I got Benjamin St. Juste. He wasn't a lockdown corner in college, but he had flashes. I mean, stuck with guys, punched the ball out when the guy turned and tried to run on him. He forced some fumbles. Seems like a Ron Rivera kind of guy. Maybe Josh Norman 2.0.
Interesting. Well, you know who I'm going with here because Ryan Fitzpatrick is fun, but the only guy that was more fun than Ryan Fitzpatrick was the guy who almost beat Tom Brady in a playoff game, having like barely started any games in his life, and Taylor Heineke. Man, the Heineke experience was just so much fun in that one postseason game last year. There's no way I'm ever going to forget it. And still, I also want to say, just in case you haven't heard me talk about this enough, the only reason they lost that game is because the receivers were dropping the ball, and they were going off the field on third down when there was a receiver open on a crossing route. Heineke hit them in the chest, and they drop a ball. They fixed their receiver problems this offseason, and that's not even what we're talking about today. I'm just still a big Taylor Heineke supporter. I've seen a lot of good things from him. I bet he'll look good in the preseason again this year. Even if Fitzpatrick is starting, he'll look good.
NFC North now. Motor City, Detroit. We will actually be there watching the Bills play them for the first week of preseason, and the guy that I am most excited to watch for them is Fetu Melifonwu, the corner that should be playing linebacker. Dude hits hard, big, like, Nahshon Wright's big. Like, he's tall. Fetu Melifonwu is big. He just is a big, like, dude in stature. He is going to be creaming some guys. Like I hope Isaiah McKenzie doesn't get caught over the middle with Fetu Melifonwu because he will die. I'm excited to see some hits that Melifonwu lays out, especially with Dan Campbell coaching him up, telling him to take some helmets off and bite some kneecaps.
Man. Yeah, no, we were talking before the draft just about how you couldn't find a more physical corner in the draft than Fetu Melifonwu. And he's the guy I picked too, but I mean, he just feels exactly like a Dan Campbell type guy, just from everything we know about Dan Campbell so far. Feels like he had to pick him. And yeah, I'm excited for that game Friday night just because I don't know, the more and more I think about it, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, the Bills twos could be like plenty of NFL teams' number ones. I can't wait to, even though they'll be playing a majority of the game, I just can't wait to go out, especially like just thinking about like receivers. We got so many guys that can play ball at a high level. I'm excited to get out there to Detroit and even to watch the Lions play because, I mean, we're Bills fans, but in the preseason, I can deal with a loss. I can deal with a loss in the preseason. If we lose in the preseason, whatever. If the Lions guy makes a play, it'll be a fun time. So, yeah, just go there, enjoy the game, and it'll be great. I can't wait to watch the Lions, and especially Fetu Melifonwu.
Yeah. The one team in the preseason that the Bills aren't playing from the NFC North, the Vikings here. There's only one guy that's on my radar for the Vikings this preseason, and it is one guy that apparently news has been coming out. It's been stinking up the joint in training camp, and he's going to prove them all wrong. That we're talking about practice, not a game. We talk about practice, and that's Kellen Mond. I'm a big Kellen Mond believer. I think he's going to show out in the preseason. He has to. I need someone to take that job from Kirk Cousins, and he's the man to do it. Big, strong, physical, better arm, athletic. He is the mold of a fun quarterback to watch in preseason. If I'm just being serious now, dropping that whole act, he is the mold of a quarterback. Like Tyree Jackson for the Bills a couple years ago, he was a fun quarterback to watch in the preseason. Just he's a big physical guy that could run, and I want to see some shoulders getting thrown down, some stiff arms being laid out, and some diving into the end zone touchdowns. I think Kellen Mond can provide us with that in the preseason.
I fully support the Kellen Mond hype in the preseason, but I knew you were going to go with him, so I had to pick another guy that I think is fun. This is a guy that actually kind of turned into the number 3 receiver for the Vikings last year. At least in terms of like going back and watching the Vikings season, I was surprised by how many snaps he was getting, but then I was looking at the rest of the roster and I was like, this kind of makes sense. He kind of had to take over that number 3 role. And even though he's the number 3 receiver, I feel like they're probably not going to lock him in for the spot again. As the number 3 receiver, just because they probably want to give him competition because he's not too exciting of a player. But, he's a guy I like, and Chad Beebe did a decent amount of stuff for them last season. Even during the regular season, I just think that he's not thought of too highly by the Vikings, so they're not going to be like ready to rush him off the field. Like, oh, he's a number 1 receiver. He can't be on the field once the ones are off. And he'll probably still be out there, and I think he's talented enough that he can still make more plays on the field even once the 2s get in, and I think he can do some good stuff for the Vikings. I like him.
Yeah, especially with BC Johnson's injury towards ACL. Chad Beebe's getting more opportunity now that he doesn't really have much competition for that slot spot.
Yep. Who's next?
Chicago. And, I mean, you know who I'm going to pick here. I have not stopped from being basic with these quarterback picks. Justin Fields, my number 1 quarterback going into the draft, falls to Chicago. That's a great situation for him. He's going to be getting a lot of playing time, too, because if Andy Dalton's the starter, which also, red rifle with the beard and the orange-tinted visor, perfection. I love seeing pictures like that. But Justin Fields has an opportunity to perform at a very high level against 2s and 3s and show, like, why aren't you letting me play against 1s? Like, there might be a chance the 3rd week, well, would week 3 of the preseason then turn into week 4 of what it usually is? Because week 3 is usually when the starters play the most.
No. See, they did a smart thing now. If you haven't paid attention to the schedule, how it used to be is that there would be weeks 1 through 4. Week 3 would occur it would have games on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the following week there would be games on Thursday for week 4 of the preseason. That way the teams would get like a 10-day break until the first game of the regular season was played. Now with it this year, there's like a full 2-week break between week 3 of the preseason and week 1 of the NFL season.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that all those games are still occurring on like a Thursday night, or if they're not occurring on a Thursday night, there's still like a 2-week break in between, like Sunday to 2 Sundays from then. So I'm pretty sure everybody's going to get like a full 2-week break from their last preseason game. So it should keep it so that like the actual last preseason game is the one where we actually see the most of the starters play, which is a good thing. I hope that's how it goes at least, and coaches don't change it up on me or anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Justin Fields shows out in the first 2 weeks of the preseason and then is like, hey, this 3rd week where the starters are going to be playing the most, maybe you just swap me and Andy out here and let me run with the starters for a couple of drives. I would love to see that.
I would too. That would be interesting. Now I'm going to take this conversation in a completely different direction because
Khalil Mack.
I've got a guy here. No, not Khalil Mack. You're fun, but no, not quite. I've got a guy that I thought was pretty good. I feel like we had like really different. I feel like this is one of the guys we differed most on in terms of opinions coming out of the draft. Because I kind of sold you on De'Ami Brown, right? From Washington, and how I think he'll be really solid, and I think he's similar to like AJ Brown type mold, just can do a little bit of everything, and he's a really solid receiver. But then I'm like also comparing and I'm like contrasting these guys more, and I'm like, okay, we had AJ Brown and DK Metcalf come out of Ole Miss at the same time, and both not really be like too highly regarded receivers, but they were good receivers on the same college team. It was wild. Daz Newsome is on the Bears, and I'm interested to see what they can do. At least what he can do specifically, because I'm really confident.
Return, man.
I'm really confident that De'Ami Brown could do his thing in Washington. I think he'll look a lot better and surprise a lot of people this year, just from like his talent, what he should be able to do on the field, as long as they get him on the field. Daz Newsome is a guy that I kind of see with a lot of upside, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to do it. I like a lot of the stuff I saw from him, though, and I think it was really interesting that both those North Carolina receivers looked really good to me, or at least looked like they had a lot of potential to me. So he's a guy I'm watching just to see, like, are there going to be two kids that come out of this college this year at the same position that both look really good? That's why I'm watching him.
Yeah, I really like Daz Newsome. I hope he succeeds. Power return man, like I said. Yeah, they need someone to fill in that role.
I didn't wait, hang on. Make sure I didn't just make like a huge mistake there, right? He is from North Carolina, right?
Yeah, he's from North Carolina.
I don't know why. Now I'm second guessing it because I just said all that. All right. Packers. Who you got?
Packers. There's only one guy. There's only one guy. That's Kylan Hill, running back. Mr. Hurdle himself. I mean, the dude is just so fun to watch. If you have not watched Kylan Hill's highlights, go and watch them. It is like 12 minutes of pure joy just watching him jump over guys. And he's a different kind of running back. I mean, they got Aaron Jones, who's their kind of do-it-all, every down back. A.J. Dillon, tree trunk legs, can run over you. But you don't need to run over a guy when you got Kylan Hill, who's just going to jump over you. He was a 7th-round pick. He's going to be fighting for a roster spot, so he's going to be all in his bag, doing anything he can to prove that he deserves to be a cheesehead. He's going to be fun to watch. I am tuning into Packers games just to watch Kylan Hill.
Wow. I wrote one guy down for the Packers, and I said, well, he's probably going to choose him. So I wrote Kylan Hill down because I'm like, oh, he won't choose Kylan Hill because, like you said, I figured you'd have to go quarterback heavy like you have the rest of the time we've been talking about these teams. But no, you picked Kylan Hill as well. I love the Kylan Hill pick. But the other guy to watch is obviously Jordan Love. Everybody's just going to be interested in seeing how he plays because, he was a first-round quarterback who we still haven't seen touch the field. And, everything coming out of the Packers camp so far in terms of how he's been doing in all his practices has not really been too positive. So interested to see what he looks like once he actually gets on the field. And him and Kylan Hill hopefully are on the field at the same time because that'll make for some fun. Maybe Jordan Love won't even touch the field in the preseason. They just really want to hold their hand that much. And Ben Kurt is out there taking all the snaps away with the 2s and 3s. You can only hope.
NFC West now, starting with San Fran. Trey Lance is my favorite quarterback in the entire draft class. He's my favorite quarterback. I didn't pick Trey Lance, though, because there was another player who is my favorite at a different position, and I think it ranks higher than Trey Lance, and it's Talanoa Hufanga. The dude is my number one safety in this draft class. You had your number one safety in the draft class that was also taken late for your AFC picks. He could do it all. He's Troy Polamalu Jr., and it's not just because he's Samoan. The dude just plays like that. He's all over the field, making insane interceptions, juking offensive players when he's running the ball back for a touchdown. Like, spin moves, everything. He just it looks like he should be playing both sides of the ball with how athletic and gifted he is. But safety, I mean, that's a weak position for the Niners too, so he's fighting for a starting job.
I loved him. I obviously have him sitting right next to the guy that I also have on here because I knew you would pick Talanoa Hufanga. Love him. Yeah, I can't wait to watch him more this preseason. But the guy I'm looking to watch, everybody knows that you're going to want to watch Trey Lance with this team. That's obvious. He's the number 3 overall pick. There's no questions there. But another guy that they got in the draft, there's 3 guys that I say are definitely worth watching with this team. If you notice, there's a trend in if a team picks a lot of players we like in the draft, we think they'll be pretty good, and we think the Niners will be pretty good this season for that reason, because, when you have a good roster and you draft well, that's good. But the other guy I'm talking about here is Trey Sermon. The 49ers have been really good running the ball. Basically, the past 3 seasons, they've been really successful in the run game. And Trey Sermon's just a really balanced running back in terms of, he can do a little bit of everything. Didn't feel like there was any, weak spot in his game. And I just feel like being able to run behind this Niners line and the scheme in general, he'll be able to have some success, and he'll probably look pretty good this preseason.
Yeah, yeah. To the desert in Arizona. I got a guy, kind of coincides with a rookie too. I I don't want them to screw it up because these guys could be playing on other teams and they'd actually be good, but the Cardinals are going to screw them up. And I have Isaiah Simmons down. Love Isaiah Simmons. I love Isaiah Simmons. I loved him going into the draft. I love Zaven Collins. I think they're going to mess both of them up because they're like, oh, these guys are really athletic. We could play them anywhere. All right, where are we going to play them? Just leave them on the bench. We haven't figured that out yet. Like, I need them to solidify a role for these guys. Find what they're good at. Like, you and I both, any NFL fan that has watched them knows what they're good at, and it seems like the Cardinals drafted them, had scouts evaluate their talent, and still have no idea what they're good at. And just throw them, or at least for Isaiah Simmons, just throwing him out there at random positions, or just not even putting him out there at all. Find him a role, solidify him in that role. Same with Zaven Collins. Do not mess them up, please, for my heart. I just need that to happen because I love freak athletes that can play multiple positions. Just find a, you can move them around from time to time. Just don't have so much inconsistency that it is hard for him to learn the playbook because you have him playing 15 different positions.
It's really annoying how that's been going with them. Hopefully the Zaven Collins one specifically can get figured out quicker than the Isaiah Simmons one. I don't know. It's really funny though because you listen to these guys talk like a Cliff Kingsbury or somebody like that. It's like, geez, these guys are smart. Like anybody in the NFL, especially any head coach in the NFL, I have yet to listen to a guy for like a long time and think, oh geez, this guy has like no clue what he's doing. But the funny thing with that is that you've also got to be able to say like, okay, even though I think this guy's a great coach, because I think that basically all NFL head coaches are great NFL head coaches, how do I think he compares to the rest of the league? And the sad truth with the Cardinals is I really don't think that Cliff Kingsbury and his staff, based off what we've seen them do in Arizona, compares well at all to the rest of the league. Like they're just doing a lot of things that don't seem to be trending themselves in the right direction. And it's really annoying with those players that I'm worried as well. They're very talented players, and I don't know if they're going to be able to look like the best versions of themselves on this team. But with that being said, try to get back to a little bit more of a positive note here for this team. And that's that I think that James Wiggins, late round draft pick from Cincinnati, playing the safety position, will be pretty interesting for them. As long as they play him at safety, of course, because, that's what they have trouble with, figuring out where people play. But yeah, he was a guy that I think there were two Cincinnati safeties actually that both looked really good, which was interesting. Just because not like thinking about Cincinnati, the college, as a safety factory, but they both looked good. They were both exciting, and James Wiggins will be a guy that I'm keeping my eye on this preseason on that defense for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. I have two guys for the Rams. I'm going to hold off saying the one because I think you have him.
Well, I have two guys. I have two guys too, and I was gonna wait.
Do we have the same two guys?
We probably have the same two guys. I'll take mine, and you can have yours, okay? Because right. you know if you know who they are, then yeah. No, I love Paris Ford out of Pitt. I thought he looked really good, and he's just a hard hitter. All those guys from Pitt were absolute machines when it came in terms of like how hard they'd come down and stop the run, especially Paris Ford. Paris Ford was my favorite when it came to doing it. He looked like, guy I compared him to, like in the NFL nowadays, was like Jamal Adams. I think he just came down and made plays in the box that I really liked, and then he still had solid coverage ability too, was locking guys up, and I think he's an exciting safety to watch for the Rams this preseason.
Yeah, I mean those Pitt boys, just something to marvel at. Who was the one guy that got drafted by the Vikings?
What position?
Twyman? I think he was defensive lineman. Twyman? Jalen Twyman?
Probably. If not, Rashad Weaver was another guy from Pitt that was D-line.
Yeah. But I know one of them got like shot, and I think it was Twyman. Twyman got shot, and then he's like, went into surgery, recovered from that. He's like, yeah, I'm ready to play. And then the Vikings cut him. I was like, these Pitt guys are built different. He just got shot 6 times and he's ready to show back up at practice and play. I don't know what they feed him there, but jeez.
Those Pitt kids are insane. They're I don't know. It's crazy. But I know who you got. Come on, tell me about your favorite.
Jake Funk is the guy to watch now, especially with Cam Akers going down with his injury. That backup running back spot is wide open, and I think Jake Funk is the guy to fill it in. Didn't have great speed in college, but that's because he tore both of his ACLs. But he's bounced back.
It's not funny. It's just that you said he didn't have great speed, and that's okay because his speed is terrible. Because like your reasoning is like, okay, he didn't have good speed. If you watch his freshman highlights, he looks really fast. It's just his sophomore and junior year he tore his ACLs. That's the thing. Yeah, but the thing that we're still saying here is that like it's not really yes, it's the reason that he's slower, but like you're saying that he's gonna be good. So like, is there any reason to believe that he's gonna look faster in the NFL? I'm still on the Jake Funk hype wagon.
No, he's going to look slower in the NFL. That's the thing. But he has an innate ability to find holes and to make guys miss. So that's what I'm gonna be. And also, he's a white running back, so that means he's great at catching the ball.
Just remember here that we did hear rumblings coming out of, I'm not even kidding, this is the funny thing, is I love training camp because you'll get the most random notes. The only thing that I've heard as a note from Rams camp yet is that Jake Funk was looking good. How is that the thing that leaks out? That doesn't make any sense. I haven't heard any other word come out of Rams camp except for Jake Funk looks good. I bet most of the people listening to this don't even know who Jake Funk is. Like, what? Why is that what came out of Rams camp? Because they can push anything out they want, and they choose to push that out. Whatever, though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for complaining. I'm rooting for him as well, just because he's a dying breed, which is the white running back. That's one thing. And then on top of that, he's got both the ACL tears, which is like, how can you not root for a guy to come back from that and actually have a good career? Yeah. So that's what we got. We got Seattle left for this division.
Yep.
Okay, who you got?
I got Will Dissly. Seattle brings in Gerald Everett. Their tight end room kind of just got like packed last season, bringing in Greg Olsen. Now Greg Olsen's gone. Jacob Hollister's gone. Will Dissly kind of moves back into that wide receiver, tight end 2 spot. Even though he was tight end 1 for a while, fell all the way down to like tight end 4, practice squad IR, coming back from these injuries now. He's going to be an important part of that offense, being behind Gerald Everett. I just remembered fantasy 2 years ago. He was killing it. Like, I was like, who is this guy? Why is he playing so well? And then he got hurt. And just dead silence for the last 2 seasons about him. And now I want to see a comeback from him. I want to see him perform well. I mean, probably he's going to be like the 4th best weapon, 3rd best weapon on the 5th, 4th. He's going to be up there with top 5 in weapons for Russell. 8th, 10th? No, but he is a weapon for Russell Wilson. I mean, wide receiver room kind of is getting thinned out with our one guy that we really liked signing with the Panthers. What's his name?
David Moore.
Yeah. He signed with the Panthers. The other guy that you really liked out of Florida got cut. Yeah. The one receiver that they did draft in the 2nd round, he's hurt and hasn't been practicing. So Will Dissly, best ability is availability, and get over these injuries now, Will, because it's contract year. At least I think it is for him.
Yeah.
Time adds up.
I agree. I agree with most of what you said there, minus the fact that you forgot about one guy at the receiver position that really, if you didn't push me to go out and find this man through a certain football league that existed for a short time there in the spring. Yes, the fan-controlled football league did have a guy that caught a Hail Mary and did a lot of decent stuff in the FCF. Travis Toivonen, one of the few guys that's actually getting a shot based off what he did in the FCF to actually make an NFL roster. Didn't see a lot of guys actually have a transfer over from that league because it felt like it was mostly a fun league and, just getting guys some time to play if they had no other opportunity to play. And Travis Toivonen, though, was one of the guys that actually showed out and made a ton of plays in the league. 6'4", big guy, jump ball type of guy. Going to be really interested to see how they use him in the preseason. Hopefully they let him get on the field a decent amount. He can go out and make some plays. He's 23 years young, so hopefully that means he could potentially actually have a future in the NFL because he looked like there was a lot of talent still left that could be, tamed or figured out. And I'm excited to watch him this preseason for the Seahawks.
Yeah, out of all the players that played in the FCF, two are getting shots at the NFL. Travis Toivonen and Jurdy. He had a tryout with the Vikings. I don't think he made the team, but he had a tryout with them. He was in practice with them. So that's funny that out of all the quarterbacks that we really liked in the FCF, the one that was like a pocket passer that we didn't care for much, he's the one that got a shot in a camp.
Yeah, no, I know. I forgot about that little tidbit there. That was fun. You got the NFC South remaining, correct?
Yes, the NFC South. Atlanta Falcons started off. I mean, I need to see more Kyle Pitts. Inject that straight into my veins. He great talent. I want to see more of him. I want to see how Arthur Smith utilizes him. That's the main thing. I don't know if they're going to just have him play wide receiver or have him play tight end, mix of both maybe. But yeah, he's going to be interesting to watch just to see how they utilize him because I kind of already know what to expect from him because he's an insane talent. I want to see how he's utilized with that talent.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm just surprised you went with him just because I don't know how many snaps he'll be seeing this preseason. He's probably got that number one tight end role locked up. I feel like he's talented enough that they're probably the only thing they're worried about there is him learning, making sure he knows all the plays, right? The guy that I'm going for here and just kind of making me think about a few other things for the future of this channel and stuff is just a guy that probably by the end of the offseason, this is how I'm describing it because it was kind of weird, in terms of like our safety big board and guys we had, if I remember correctly, or no, actually, I'm sorry. It was Richard LeCount was probably the number 2 guy for us on like if we combined both our big boards, it probably would have been Hufanga 1, like in terms of just ordering them based off where we ranked them. Hufanga probably would have been 1, and then LeCount would have been 2. But a guy I really like too was Richie Grant. I can't. I'm see now. I'm blanking a little bit here on what you said about him, but he ended up on the Falcons now, and he's a guy at the safety position that I thought had some talent there, and I'll be interested to see what he can do for the Falcons this offseason. But I don't know, maybe just a little bit of what you thought on him here, quick, because I can't remember exactly what you said before.
Yeah, Richie Grant, I just pulled up my list. I had him as my 4th rated safety, so he was up in the top 5 for me. He has great speed all over the field. I mean, there were many plays where he was on the opposite side and was so quick to get to the other side to make an interception or break up the pass because the other safety that was next to him was lacking. But yeah, great talent, and I mean, they need that safety replacement now that Keanu O'Neal wants to go play linebacker in Dallas.
Yeah, I think so. I think I was kind of on the right track. I was saying that he was probably going to end up on like our combined big board number 2 spot. He actually probably on our combined board was probably the number 3 spot because I think Andre Sisco was my number 3, and obviously I said Nasirildeen was my number 1. So if you take those 2 guys out, it probably puts him right about number 3 in terms of our combined board, which was really solid. He was a guy that impressed in terms of pre-draft and after the fact, if not kind of grew on me. Who's next?
My favorite tight end, not named Kyle Pitts. In Carolina, I think, like I said, George Kittle 2.0, Tommy Tremble. You think he should just play fullback? The dude possesses Like, fantastic blocker. He's superb at that. I don't think anyone's going to argue with me about that. When you watch Tommy Tremble tape, it is 90% blocking, and you don't see that for any other person. Like, any. Even, like, the late round guys where it's like, this guy's a great blocking tight end. It's receiving highlights with, like, maybe one or two. Tommy Tremble's highlights were just all him blocking, and then a couple great like red zone receptions, and in those red zone receptions he looked superb. He looked George Kittle-esque, Travis Kelce-esque, and I think Joe Brady can unlock the next level to him and use him more as a receiver while also keeping that mean streak of a blocker that he has in Tommy Tremble. Maybe I'm just completely wrong and they make him play like fullback for the whole time and that's the only use out of him. Either way, I want to watch him. I want to see what they do with him.
Yeah, you're right. It will be interesting to see what they do with him. I just think that there's a few other like I said with Ramondre Stevenson yesterday. He went to one of the two teams that and I guess this isn't on purpose, but he went to one of the two teams that I really wanted him to see on. There were a few teams that I would have really liked to see Tommy Tremble go to, and actually, coincidentally, two of them that would have been the same are probably Baltimore or New England. But there are more teams than that I would have liked to see Tommy Tremble go to. But I'm just wondering if Carolina's going to use him in the perfect manner. I do see a lot of, I mean, he does have a lot of great traits to his game, but I just hope that Carolina can fully unlock that, and I don't know how Matt Rule and Joe Brady are going to go about it, but I hope that they do. But a guy that used to be...
Arizona. It's not Arizona, so there's hope.
That's true. But a guy that used to be coached under Joe Brady, now going to be, once again, Terrace Marshall Jr., guy that looked really similar to Rashad Bateman, honestly. I kind of had them really close together, and Tylan Wallace, all kind of in this group of guys that seemingly played just really similarly. And I think that he's not too far off of those guys. I thought both of those guys were really good-looking prospects. So I feel like he's probably a guy that's kind of flying under the radar in Carolina at this point, but I don't feel like Carolina's receiver depth is insane. So I feel like he could actually make some plays and work his way up the depth chart this preseason with Carolina if he has a good showing.
Yeah, you're completely right with him. Overlooked him, but I mean, even if I would have looked at him, Tommy Tremble still would have been my guy. Tampa Bay here, runners up in the division, but not runners up in the Super Bowl, winning it at all. And part of winning the Super Bowl is you're graced with the Mr. Irrelevant pick. And with that, they took Grant Stewart, and you and I both raved about him in our Buccaneers record prediction video. He is just an Iron Man. I mean, running back, linebacker, corner, safety, did it all in college. And with that, his main position is linebacker. When he was playing linebacker, he was all over the field, making tackles, taking great angles, brushing off blocks when he was sent on a blitz. It runs hard with the ball, too. I mean, get some fumble recoveries running hard. Put that ball right in his chest when he's in the backfield. He's running hard. So I'm excited to see how they use him. I'd love to see him be used in more ways than just linebacker. Doubt it, though. But he's given Vita Vea a run for his money with hair on the team. And also, gotta love any guy that's putting his own college highlights up on YouTube for us to enjoy.
Oh, yes. That was a good treat. That was one of my favorite things. This is one of the first ones that I have to say I really thought I was going to be able to get you on here. Like, I thought I knew who you were going to pick. I thought you were going to pick Joe Tryon since you picked him for your pick for Defensive Rookie of the Year. But I guess you're not going to go with him. But I'm not going to go with him either. I'm going with John Franklin the third, I'm pretty sure. As long as it's the guy I think it is. Wide receiver, number 5. He's been on Tampa. John Franklin III has been on Tampa Bay's roster for like the past 3 years. So if this is a different John Franklin, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure John Franklin III is still on Tampa Bay's roster. But he's a wide receiver, and he's wearing number 5 now because wide receivers are allowed to wear number 5. Obviously a very fun player from Last Chance U. And just a guy that I'm excited to watch play some football again because he was exciting when we saw him on Last Chance U. And he's one of those guys that's not only made his way into the NFL from like a kind of a tough spot in his career, but also had to like change positions multiple times to find his way onto a team. And hopefully I can enjoy seeing a little bit more from him this preseason.
Yeah, nothing more natural than the quarterback to safety to wide receiver transition in the NFL.
Yep. Who you got for the Saints?
For the Saints, the Saints are kind of a tough one. I wanted to go Ian Book here, maybe Pete Werner, the linebacker out of Ohio State. But in the end, I went with a wide receiver that is probably going, like, might have not made the roster, definitely going to make it now with this Michael Thomas injury, and Kwan Baker. He was a do-it-all guy in college. Bigger body too, for what the Saints have, kind of comparable to Michael Thomas's size, but he does things that Michael Thomas does not do. He is getting sweeps. He is running end arounds. He, catching fade balls too, but Michael Thomas also does that. Runs every route in the route tree well. And he was a 7th round pick. So the Saints just took a flyer on him, and that flyer is going to be worth it, I think, because they don't have anything great in wide receiver depth. And also, I think one of their wide receivers may be facing suspension too. So
who's that? It's okay.
The one,
don't worry about it.
The one that isn't the kick returner.
So not Michael Thomas, not Traquan
Not Michael
Smith?
Thomas. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear about it, so I have to take a look at that. But yeah, for me, I mean, it makes sense why you go receiver there. For me, this is a guy that really, you know, what's funny? I think when I wrote his name, the first thing I thought is, now here's a guy, you know, Chris Collinsworth. He's a guy that he's played for a decent. He's played pretty well in the past few years of his career, and I think he's kind of a guy that's underrated, coming from that position you talked about with the Titans in the AFC video, of just playing that nickel corner spot and kind of being underrated. So even though I'm talking about a player here that I think is going to be a starter and we may not see a lot from him, just a guy that I'm excited to see on a new team, especially a team that will be competing at a better level than the Jets have in recent years. That's Brian Poole. He's coming to the Saints, and I'm just interested to see what he can do at that nickel corner position. Now, with that being said, I'm sorry for bringing this up in the NFC video, but right when we got to that last team, I realized, hey, there was a guy that I was thinking about that I was like, wait, I wrote somewhere that I was like, Jake's going to pick a specific guy. And then I was like, wait, I don't think he ever did. So I went back, and I just need you to remind me really quick. Who did you pick for the Cincinnati Bengals?
I just closed my notebook. Jeez.
I'm sorry.
I picked Joseph Osai.
You remember that Pro Wells is on the roster, right?
I didn't remember that. Pro Wells is going to be a great guy to watch, too. Oh, jeez.
So there's your bonus ones, fans of the illegal use of hands to the face YouTube channel. Your bonus pick for the NFC video, coming from an AFC team, Pro Wells. Check him out for the Cincinnati Bengals, playing tight end on a television near you or something like that soon. But yeah, I think that wraps the NFC side of this. We hit every team. Hopefully everybody can enjoy some preseason football in the coming weeks, and before we know it, the regular season will be here. Are you all set?
Yeah, I think we could cut this here.